Okay, and the magic machine tells me that I'm live, so I will go with the assumption that I'm live, and I will go with the assumption that you can hear my audio transmission. It has been as the kids say, I think the kids still say this, a hot minute since I talked about the Micro Chapbook RPG system. It was probably the first, I guess we could say, arc of my channel. And I can tell you, every once in a while, I'm tempted to look at the analytics to the degree that a TTRPG channel like mine could be said to have analytics of this channel. And I can tell you that nothing brings them in, kind of brings them in. Like the first two videos kind of I made on this channel, which is the videos about Micro Chapbook RPG. Look, this was the system that I was most enthusiastic, at the time that I started this RPG channel. But it was kind of hard because I was enthusiastic about it, but it seemed like even the creator was losing enthusiasm over it, and it was hard to build up enthusiasm for it because quite frankly, the creator Noah Patterson started taking doing things in wild directions, and I can tell you it's been probably about it was Halloween of 2022 when Noah Patterson released Tim Frey. How you doing, Tim Frey? Good evening to you. Welcome to the proceedings. First in the live chat, gold medal on to thee. Don't spend it all in one tavern. Uh-huh. Noah Patterson was releasing one dungeon per day for Halloween of 2022, just to show you how long ago it was. And I was like, well, you can't, first the dungeons were impossible. It was how long. But then after that, we talked, and even when we were talking about, circa that time, everything was the definitive edition, but it was like everything was already going helter skelter. And by this point, I can tell you, still following the work of Noah Patterson, they went on to do this micro RPG R, and now they've got these one page things. But the system, what it really was the system was pristine, probably at its first iteration, but much like if you invented the s'more, right? um or the guy that invented the Rubik's Cube, or the person that came up with Tetris, people turn to you and they're like, what are you going to do next? And it's like, the likelihood is that if you do Tetris, if you get a Rubik's Cube out of you, right? Like Einstein with E equals MC squared or whatever, that's your nut. You know what I mean? That's what you done did, you know? And so especially with a thing that's inherently simple, like the gift and the beauty of the Micro Chapbook RPG system was it was so simple. The first iterations of the game fit on, it was like a one page RPG jam that you could fold it up. It was like a travel brochure. It was like one solid solo RPG experience that was expandable. I mean, it had its limitations for sure, but its limitations, we say hello to Catherine as well. Hello to Catherine. Um, but its limitations are its strength. It's like a haiku, you know what I mean? What do you think of the haiku? It was great. I mean, it could have, it was simple. I mean, if I had any criticism, I mean, it could have, could have given them, the author could have gone on a little more and given me a little more detail. Well, yeah, he could have. But then again, right, the point of the haiku, you get what I'm saying. So by the time we get to Micro Chapbook RPG Advanced Character Guide, there had been a lot of talk. First of all, there was the basic edition rulebook. And this was what Noah Patterson at the time was calling the 1.75 edition rules. And if you go back to the heady days of 2 years ago, you'll see me talking about this is 2021. It was complicated enough talking about this individual. Now they're whatever. Copyright 2021. At the time, this was supposed to be the definitive edition of the rules, but as I said at the time, they made that statement and then proceeded to produce all sorts of more stuff that clearly indicated that this wasn't the definitive edition of the rules. Anyway, 2021, both the basic edition of the rules came out, as well as this two advanced books, an advanced character creation guide, and there's also an advanced dungeon guide that we'll do at a later date. The beauty of print on demand is also you get to see not only when the copyright date is 2021, you also get to see, I get to remember when I actually purchased it. I purchased it in 2022. So I'm like a year behind the author, but it may be the community, as it were. But here we are 2 years later on now, and we can look back 3 years from the advanced character guide, and we can take a really look back and see, what this product is. It's still available. It has, a hefty price point compared to some of the other micro RPG products out there. So I want to be honest. Look, when dealing with independent creators, I think there's a lot of attitude about we want to be supportive. And if we don't have anything nice to say, why bother saying anything at all? Let's just review things that we think are great and fantastic. And let's say everything is fantastic and let's wish everyone the best. But all that ends up happening is that people are just going to make, bad, investments. The advanced character guide is full of great ideas, but for a product that is especially priced as a premium product in the line, it is full of typos. It's organized in a way that I don't know if it's the result of just kind of the systematic way that the prior, information in the pre-existing books was organized, or if it has something to do with the peculiarities of the author's neurodivergence, that they are very, very open about, and they actively talk about as an aspect of their identity and as an aspect of the identity of their company, that it's a trans, neurodivergent owned and operated company. So I think it's fair to engage with that aspect of the possibility of its contribution to the materials itself. But when the rubber hits the road, if we're dealing with, things that happen or the way, product is, organized, the results are the results. And it is what it is. So I'm not going to beat around the bush. I've looked at a lot of this material and I've absorbed a lot of this material. And I got to tell you, in preparation, this review kept on getting pushed off. I was supposed to have done it on, last week. And then, things kept on coming up that kept on preventing me from being able to actually just get down and do the review. And as a result, what might have at one point just been a cursory review, I've read this book from start to finish. I mean, prior to this, I've read the book start to finish. It's not a huge book. And that bears, that bears in mind. If you look at the Amazon pricing, you can get it for a lot cheaper on, Drive Through RPG as a PDF. And as a PDF, I think it makes a difference. But, I don't regret my purchase. I mean, it's a full color book, but, it roughly, is the same price as like a 5th edition, player's handbook. It's like a little shy of like $35 probably. And I gotta tell you, it really comes down to the fact of, is it a playable system as is? It concedes that it's an add-on and says that, it's recommended you own the Micro Chapbook RPG Basic Edition rulebook to get the best use out of this advanced expansion. Fair enough, but even owning that, there are systematic problems with this book. It's probably needed play testing. I don't think it had it, and I'm just going to go through it, and I'll just be straight with you. If you know the Micro Chapbook RPG system, this review will be easier for you to understand than if you're a total newcomer to it. If you're a total newcomer to it, then you have a link to, I organized all my Micro Chapbook RPG reviews into a playlist. So if you've got the time, you'll be able to get more up to speed. Here we have the content. So all the Micro Chapbook RPG books generally always include some shoehorning of the basic rules of play. So if you get any of the books, you're usually left with the ability to have a solo RPG experience, even if the book is supposed to just be a character generation book. Here it gives you the introduction of the basics of how to play, how to construct a dungeon, how monster combat works. But I'll get into it as I go through the specifics of it. So here the introduction, the advanced character creation, the advanced classes and stuff, substats, weapons, armors. We'll go through all this more in detail. Advanced magic. And getting started, you have the trial of heroes. We'll get to the things in more specifics as I get to them. Here we have what is a Micro Chapbook RPG, and I'm going to go through this. And fair use, fair use, fair use. This is an editorial review. This is a transformative work. I'm not intending to despoil any of the authors copyrights. I don't think Patterson needs to. I don't expect Noah to pull a Wizards of the Coast and feel the need to copyright strike me. Certainly, and nothing like that. I'll be thumbing through the book and just highlighting. Look, not to be a total B about it, but I'll be highlighting the things I think are problematic. But and not to say that the book totally sucks. I mean, the book has value to people that if you love Micro Chapbook RPG, look. If you love Micro Chapbook RPG, there's going to be a reason to own this information. It's just a question of how much do you love Micro Chapbook RPG and why. Here we got the introduction section. This is the usual stuff. If you know Noah Patterson's material, you know all this stuff. Play you some dungeon synth. Turn down the lights, sweet baby. Gameplay basics. Okay. Now, what I want to, some of the stuff I'm going to get home and kick myself because I'll realize that there were things I wanted to point out as egregious editorial problems that they had that I didn't point out, but it is what it is. Here we get to the dungeon. Here are the basics of dungeon crawling. Now, what I won't point out here is this. Room type. This is good that we have this information, but treasure. Here we go. After a room is cleared, roll 1d6. If you get 1 through 5, you earn that much gold. If you roll a 6, roll on the items table included in section 1.8. But here's the deal. That's cut and paste. That's cut and paste from standard Micro Chapbook RPG type stuff. But here's the thing. In this advanced character creation guide, there are certain rules that are the same as old rules, and there are certain rules that have been changed. And one of the rules that has been changed is this treasure rule. Okay? Nowadays, in this book, you're not rolling 1d6 for treasure. You're rolling an 1d12. On a roll of 1 to 10, you get that much gold. And on a roll of 11 or 12, you're allowed to simply choose which items you want. And it's in a different, let's see if I can find it. It's not even, here we go, gain experience, spending XP, leveling up. It's different. They bifurcate some of the systems, and it's not clear. Here we go. Death of the Trial of Heroes. Here we go. Let me see where it is. But it's contradictory. Here we go. I'm gonna get to. I think it's in the item section. We have it. Here we go. Here we go. Armor accessories. Here we go. I apologize for flipping around so much, because final play. Here we go. Here we go. Now this is not even in the new adventure that's in the book. It's in the item section. It's not 1.8. It's in 1.9. So that's already an editorial problem. It's not in section 1.8. It's in 1.9. And then in 1.9 it says if you roll a d12, not a d6, it says if you roll 11 or 12, you find special equipment. Choose one of the weapons or armor charts and roll a d8 to find the equipment piece. And then when we get to magical books, in Magic, it says, oh, if you find a special item, if you roll 11 or 12, you can also choose to find a book. That's not in here. It says doesn't list book as one of the options. That lists only in the book section, in the Magic section. And in this section, it says look in section 1.8. It's not 1.8, it's 1.9, because that's a tie over from different books. And it says roll a d6, and it gives the old rules. You see what I'm saying? Noah Patterson is clearly cutting and pasting from older systems. What's the problem? No editorial review. If the beauty of self-publishing is you can self-publish. The unfortunate thing about self-publishing, you can't rely on the big system of the editorials and the proof editors, the proofreaders, and all that stuff. You got to do it yourself. And you didn't do it yourself. You left it as 1.8 instead of 1.9. And you left the old rules from your old books instead of updating it to have the new books, the new book rules. You're repeating information, which is a waste of space that could have been used, new information that I know you needed to clarify, because I read the book enough times to know this information needs to be clarified. So that's a problem. You're asking people to spend $35 on a book and you don't take the time to go through and proofread it. Here's the thing. I think at this stage in their career, Noah was just basically kind of, I'll be completely honest, shitting out material. The boss of the dungeon will not appear until you've accomplished at least 1 of 2 conditions. That's fine. But again, this information is repetitive of information that's going to be given to us again in the actual dungeon that's given, and in some places it's kind of contradictory. Look, I've never written one of these books, and I'm sure it's hard, but if you had just read through your galley proof before hitting send on Amazon, you wouldn't have this problem. It is what it is. Okay. The basics of fighting and combat, it's good that it's there. Okay. I don't think I remember seeing any big problems here. I don't remember, but of course I'll get home and be like, oh, you should have pointed that problem out too. Okay, here we go. Section 1.1. Now here we get to the advanced characters. Now these are going to be the advanced characters that are going to be differentiated from the standard characters we were previously generating in other instances of the micro chapbook RPG system, etc. Prior to gameplay, you will create a single level 0 character. Here is a problem. Okay, folks, when we go through the system, you're going to realize you're not actually going to be generating what's defined as a level 0 character. Only if you use one of the 3 character generation systems are you going to consistently generate level 0 characters. In fact, if you use 2 of the most generous and attractive character generation systems, you're going to consistently generate characters that are above level 0. And I'm going to show you how. So that's wrong. You know what I mean? It's wrong. It's incorrect. You're not necessarily going to be generating level 0 characters. You could, but it's not necessarily going to be the case. I'll explain to you why. While the game is specifically designed with a single foolhardy hero in mind, you could choose to make the game easier by building up to 2 additional adventures for your party. The max size for a party is 3. The downside is that a party must split all gold and experience earned, thus making leveling up harder and getting new equipment more difficult. Here's another problem. We're going to be told about how to calculate experience, but we're going to be told how to calculate experience that will only make sense if you're calculating experience for one character, because they bifurcate earning gold from earning experience points, and earning experience points is based on your level, but different people are going to have different levels. It's a case that's not taken into account by Noah, though it's conceded that they should have known that it was possible. It's not defined how people are supposed to split up their experience or why that would necessarily be a bad thing. And then also, don't worry about it. It's not explained how you're supposed to split the experience. And they also include I'll get there. Anyway, stats. We determine the four main stats. Occupation, roll to randomly determine what your character's occupation was prior to becoming an adventurer. Class, become a class, choose a class. There will be a long list of possible classes to choose from. All magic user classes will also begin with starter spells. Race, choose a race or species, however you like it. Orc, gnome, dwarf, elf, or human, as well as a tribe. Substats, determine your starting health, willpower, damage bonus, and XP. Equipment, purchase equipment with the starting gold. Okay, each step will be explained further in detail in each of the following sections. So far, it might seem similar. Section 1.2, character stats. The first step of character creation is to determine the very base abilities, called main stats and main statistics. Now, here are the different ways. There's strength, dexterity, wits, and charisma. Okay. Now, not worried about what the stats do. Know and understand that the first normal way that people always used to generate stats at this stage was point purchase. You would set, here we go, Jonaside, I don't feel tardy. I don't feel tardy. You're not. You're showing up at the 24-minute mark, so we're just getting started. The point purchase way, which was you had 7 points to distribute between the 4 main stats any way you wanted to. No stat could be below 1. No stat could be above 4. That's the standard way. Okay. Point purchase. You are granted 7 points to assign between the 4 stats as you see fit. At this point, no stat can be lower than 1 or higher than 4. Okay. That was the standard way. This way is the only way you can generate possibly a level 0 character. Well, that's not true. But these other way, random generation version 1 and random version 2, consistently can generate characters that are way above level 0. We'll get to it. Random generation number 1 is like roll down the line. It's like, here we go. Random generation, starting with strength and moving down the list, roll a d4 once for each of the stats going down the line. Whatever number you roll is the number for that stat score, recorded on your character sheet. This method is for the old school fans of tabletop gamers. Okay, now I went over that and was going to call it a typo or whatever, or just like, but it's like bad grammar, but it's not bad grammar. It's technically correct grammar if you're trying to say that people are fans of tabletop gamers, right? Like you're a real fan of grognards, right? This method is for the old school fans of tabletop gamers, right? If you're a fan of old school if the old school fans of tabletop, like you're an old school fan of tabletop gamers, you'll like this method. That's not what they meant, obviously, but we're giving them the benefit of the doubt. The roll of the dice can grant you competent starting characters or extremely weak ones. Now, look, right. So if you have 7 points to distribute, you could go with that method, the point purchase method, or you could take your luck with the roll of the dice, right? Now, what's possible? You could get 1, 1, 1, 1, 1. That would suck, right? What's equally as likely is you're going to get 4, 4, 4, 4. What Noah Patterson doesn't take into consideration is the fact that while it is probabilistically kind of unlikely, though it can happen, to generate on 3d6 down the line, what is it? There's 6 stats in D&D, right? It's unlikely that you're going to get 18, 18, 18, 18, 18, 18. The probability of getting 18, 18, 18, 18, 18, 18 on 3d6 6 times, that's not the probability of getting a 1d4 to show up 4 times at all. And now check out random generation version 2. Roll a d4 6 times, record all of the results you rolled, then drop the highest roll and the lowest roll. This will leave you with 4 remaining numbers. You may then assign these numbers as you see fit as among the 4 main stats. This method gives you a little more control of your character's stat scores. It gives you a better chance of a median score for your character stats. Yeah, it also gives you a chance of generating a kick-ass character, right? Because if you think that there's a fair probability of getting a 4-4-4-4 on just rolling a 4-sided dice, when you can roll that 4-sided dice 6 times and drop the highest and drop the lowest, dude, I've got a team of 3 chicks. This was cold. I didn't throw anybody away. This was out the gate. 3 characters. Stats: 4-1-3-3, 4-3-3-3, and what is this? 4-3-1-3, right? Yeah, they've got 1s, but they've got 4s and 2 3s. And one of them is 4-3-3-3. And then you also got to remember that everyone's going to raise 1 stat 1 point. So, you could have a level 1 character? Yeah, you could have a level. We're going to see. So you come out the gate. Why would you do point purchase? Yeah, you could have a schlub. You roll up that character and put it to the side. We always gave 118 stat, and it was 46 reroll 3 and under. There you go. Jonocide. There you go. You know why Jonocide playing feeble D&D? We call that feeble D&D, or 3d6, and you get what you get. There you or what's known as wheel person's D&D. Anyway, moving on. Character to my endless kvetch about Noah Patterson, who could have avoided all of this by returning my DMs and being my best friend. I just want to point out, if Noah Patterson has any problems with this review, that's being completely brutal and honest. They could have avoided all of this if they had just returned my DMs and been my best friend, right? They decided to stand in their autonomy and be scared of me. And now, see what happens. Next, you'll now roll a D1. I'm kidding. This is an honest review because I'm being honest. Next, you'll now roll D100 to see what random occupation your character held before becoming a hero. Reroll results above 56. Now, look, folks, this might be a kvetch. There are 56 occupations listed, okay? 5 that give you 1 gold, 5 that give you between 1 and 2 gold, 5 that give you between 1 and 3 gold, right? 5 that give you between 1 and 4 gold. I mean, this is the point that I have to make is this. If you roll D100 and you have to get rid of all results over between 57 and 100, you're throwing away a lot of results. Or, Noah Patterson, you could have made it a D66 table, which would have given you, my understanding is doesn't that give you 36 possible results? Shave off, I don't know, a couple of occupations from each category. Do we need 5 different occupations that give us just 1 gold? Right? And so we don't have to run the risk of possibly re-rolling so many occupations. I don't know. That might be a kvetch. But you see what I'm saying. Also, we wouldn't have to spend so much real estate just listing occupations, and we would have more space to list, useful information. Once you've determined the stats and occupation for your level 0 character, not all characters are going to be level 0, Miss Patterson. You would know that if you would just do simple math and run your own system and look at it a couple of times. You concede that not all your characters will be level 0, and yet you state here that once you determine your stats in your application for your level 0 character. But that's a lie, because not all of these characters will be level 0. So why do you say that? Because you didn't proofread your book. You just shit it out. You put it out there. You will then need to make the larger decision of which class you want the character to be. There are 4 class categories to choose from, and each category is a selection of 5 available classes. It's this insistence, 4 categories, and there are 5 classes in each category. It's this insistence on this kind of balance where like the Abed from Community really shows. It is what it is. I'm like neurodivergent at the wazoo. I got multiple diagnoses. So as far as I'm concerned, it's like our word for us. And I can be like, you know what I mean? I can be like, I can point this stuff out because shit gets stupid confusing for no fucking reason because of this insistence on this kind of like balance. Fighters, classes and category focus on combat, specifically hand-to-hand combat. Travelers, classes, categories focus on speed, dexterity. Magic users, performers. And what it basically comes down to is back in the day with the first iteration, you had the races or species, which would all give you a bonus to one of your stats, right? And then you would have the class that would give you proficiency to let you roll 2 dice instead of 1. So because there's this class and this race, now there were 4 races and 4 classes, there's this, I guess, this insistence to have 4 classes, 4 types of classes, and have 5 things of each class. I don't know, whatever it is, but it doesn't work. And we'll get to why. Because there's going to be an attempt to make like D&D style classes come through, but you're going to see what I'm talking about. Masses of weapons and armor. Fighter classes are proficient in strength. Here we go. But here we go. Look, what's good about this book? You got some of these advanced classes work. Look, warrior, brutal hit. Warriors begin at level 0 with a +1 damage bonus. Whenever they level up, they add +2 to their damage bonus instead of +1. And like I said, people could start off before level 0. So you could have people that could start off with a damage bonus. That's pretty good. Barbarian, in my opinion, is got a whiff special ability because their special ability can only be used once per dungeon. I've read this book a couple of times. This seems to be the only special ability that's only once per dungeon. So I would say that this is a whiff thing. Paladins are good. Now, Paladins have special abilities that seem similar to magic, but it doesn't specify that they would need to burn willpower like other spellcasters. So it's like not defined, but you'd have to figure it out. They do a charisma check to activate this healing power, but they have a possibility of having a healing power, or they could have this monster slaying power, or they could have a resurrection power that's very, very powerful. But like I said, I would like to see some more information regarding whether this counts as like a spell cast that would require them to burn willpower, where they have the ability to learn more of these abilities, or what have you. But a lot of this can be kvetches. And look, it is what it is. You have a certain amount of real estate. What do you want? Egg in your beer? You have a certain amount of things that are going to be told, a certain amount of things that are not going to be told. Check this out, the Woodsman. And I point this out because there might be ways that we can break this game in a fun way. Special ability, muscle bound. Woodsmen start with 1 additional strength, +1 to additional strength. When they increase their strength stat, they increase the stat by +2 instead of the usual +1. So we have an ability to power level there. Okay. Now remember, in past instances of Micro Chapbook RPG, there was kind of a level cap. the stats went from 1 to 6, and 6 was an automatic failure on a roll of the dice. A roll of a 6 on the die was an automatic failure, so there was no real point in raising your level beyond a stat beyond 5 because the 6 was an automatic failure. That goes away in this game because the Noah allows us to raise our quote unquote level dice, and we'll get to there and how that system may work or may not work. But if we can raise our strength beyond 6, it may help us because we can create situations where we can be able to calculate the maximum for individual dungeons. We can calculate what the maximum penalties possible are for, like, say, damage, damage modifiers for monsters and stuff, like, and room modifiers to make certain roles more difficult. We could figure out and compensate and make our strength to such a degree that we can figure out how to never lose a strength roll. And if we do that, we'll never have to roll and we'll automatically hit all the time. Because the way this system, the fighting system in Micro Chapbook RPG works is you only take damage when you miss. How it works is you roll to hit, and if you hit, and you do damage to the other guy. And if you miss the melee round, that's when you take damage from the adversary. So if we can calculate if we can, mathematically determine what our automatic will always hit unless the die rolls a 6 or whatever, then we can just roll, and then unless it rolls a 6, we can automatically know that we've hit, and then just basically cheese the dungeon and basically do whatever, just walk. Masters of Stealth and Speed, here are the dexterity builds. We have a ranger with multi-shot. Rangers can make multiple ranged attacks at once. They can make plus X plus 1 additional attacks in the range step, where X is their current level. So 0 plus 1 at level 0. But like I said, I pointed out, people can start beyond level 0. So you could have people making, and remember, in most instances, there's not going to be enemies on the other side that can volley for serve on ranged attacks. So ranged attacks might be our ability to hit without being hit back. And if we can have multiple attacks, and if you start above level 0, that means you're going to have a damage bonus. So it's possible that we can just basically, cheese out, whole sections of enemies. We have an assassin with a sneak attack ability. Before attack, make a dexterity check to sneak up on an enemy. If you pass, roll your current level dice. You receive that many free attacks before combat begins. These attacks deal regular damage and your level. You can't take damage during sneak attacks. Again, I would like more specificity because it says before combat. Does that mean before combat when we first come into the room? Or is it every round of combat? Like when we start combat again, do we get to do the sneak attack again? Or is it just when we first meet the enemy? I think that would be a good thing to articulate. It's not articulated specifically. We have a thief class with thief special abilities, and we're told that the thief can choose one of these skills below, and when they level up, they can choose another of these skills to add. These include a secret door finder, where they can make a wits check. I don't know why they're making a wits check instead of a dexterity check. Why are they making a wits check instead of a dexterity check when it's a dexterity build and they have proficiency in dexterity? Is it because in previous instances of Micro Chapbook RPG, wits was the skill that you used to unlock doors, and it probably was the skill to use to unlock doors because they needed that skill to do something because there was no magic? It makes no sense. I would homebrew this and turn this into a dexterity check because that makes sense. But it is what it is. If you want to do it rules as written, you'd make a wits check. But then why isn't this thief in the wits section? Because it makes sense to have it in the thief section with the dexterity thing because that's how we think of it naturally. But so it's creating this disconnect, trying to make certain things work with old books, but then trying to make certain things work with the lore from other RPG systems. I think it runs into these problems. Trap Master, when disarming, dodging traps, subtract -X from the roll where X is your level. But we get to traps, unlike old instances of Micro Chapbook RPG, where a trap was just a type of door that you would see where it was easy to see. Oh, now we just got to disarm this trap. And again, it doesn't specify that this would be a wits check or what you do to disarm the trap. When you see traps in these new instances of Micro Chapbook RPG, it doesn't tell you. It just says you fall through a floor. It doesn't really tell you where you're supposed to do some sort of instance of disarming. That's a big miss. That's a big lack of clarity. Gold touch. Whenever you make a treasure roll, also roll your level dice and earn that much additional gold. That's great for power leveling, and I'll tell you why when we get to the item section, because though it's bifurcated in the system, and in previous instances where it was just spend 100 GP or some instances spend 50 GP to level up, here we have a bifurcated system where we're supposed to calculate experience points. They still have an item that lets you buy a level, buy a stat bonus for 100 GP. So you could technically double level. But we'll get there when we get there. But the point is this. Did they think of the implications of that system? I don't know. Riders often start out, here we have riders who have a mount. We'll get to the rules on mounts. We have a hunter, special ability marksman. When making a ranged attack, roll the dexterity check as if you were double proficient. That's you roll 3 dice instead of 2 dice. As if you're proficient, you roll 2 dice, pick the best one, which is the lowest one. If you're double proficient, you roll 3 dice and take the best, lowest result. Whenever you roll a natural unmodified 1 in range combat, you deal your normal damage times your current level. Ignore level 0. But like I said, you can start off at higher levels. But now watch this. When you're making a ranged attack, roll the dexterity check if you're double proficient. When you roll natural unmodified 1 range combat, this is what I want to point out. Remember the this person, the ranger with the multi-shot? Multiple ranged attacks at once. But now watch this. If we go back to weapons, answer me this. We have certain ranged weapons that have a double capability. This ranged weapon is capable of firing off 2 shots at once. Therefore, make 2 attack rolls for a single attack action with this weapon. Deal damage individually for each hit. So if you're a ranger with the multi-shot ability and you make X plus 1 additional attacks in the range step where X is their current level, and you have a weapon that has the double ability, say, for example, you're a 2nd level ranger with multi-shot, that means you would take X plus 1 additional attacks. That means you would take 3 additional attacks in the range step. And if you had a double ranged weapon, I guess that would mean you would get 6 shots. And if you're a level 3 character, guess what? You have a damage bonus of +3, and we'll see some of the characters, if you choose, you have a higher damage attack bonus. So you could have a character with 6 shots with possibly like a +4 damage bonus. You kill everybody. We've bound, but then again, you can get shut out under certain instances, and we'll explain that too. It's not really a balanced system, but I don't know if that's the point. I think, I don't know what the point is. Here we go. Masters of the Mystics Art. Magic user classes are proficient in wits. Now, we're going to have a problem because all user classes are all proficient in wits. Why? Why is the sorcerer proficient in wits? Sorcerers are born with magic in their veins, either because their parents are sorcerers, they were born under a magical sign, or any other mystical event. D&D 5th edition players or D&D other players, sorcerers are sorcerers. Do they have advantage with intelligence or charisma? Because they cast with charisma, right? Sorcerers, however, never need to expend willpower and attempt to cast spells and cast with charisma, not wits. So if they cast with charisma, not wits, shouldn't they have proficiency with charisma? If we go to the basic edition rule book, that it's referenced that we should have, if we want to get the most out of this advanced character book, and we go to magic, performer magic is why I have something like a cleric when we could do something stupid like have performer magic. If you're a performer, you learn and cast spells in the same way as other magic users, except you replace all wits-based elements with charisma instead. All wits-based elements. I would say that proficiency would be one of those elements, right? So shouldn't you specify here that they, when they cast with charisma, they have proficiency in charisma, but they're listed under magic users as having proficiency in wits? I think it's an easy call to say that they have proficiency, like the cleric who casts charisma rolls to cast, that they have their proficiency in charisma, but they're listed as having proficiency in wits, which means it's not clear. I think that's a lazy mistake to make. And I'm making the assumption that it's charisma that they have proficiency in, but it's not clarified. And why isn't it clarified? And why are they put in there with people that have proficiency in wits? I would suggest it's just simply because there's something inherently satisfying to the author of having X number of characters, the same number of characters that are listed under proficient magic users that are proficiency in wits as are listed as these people that are proficient in charisma. And it would have chuffed them or upset them in some way to have an X number of, to have an uneven number of people that were proficient in wisdom, wits, as were proficient in charisma. Give me another reason why. By the way, why be a sorcerer just because they can do? I mean, bards are limited to just elemental books of magic, but a bard are the singers and songwriters of yada yada. Special ability, bardic instrument. Bards get to choose an instrument. Each grants a bonus. Most give you a second proficiency. Additionally, they get to choose one elemental book of magic they can use in coordination with their music. All magic rolls are made with charisma. All magic rolls are made with charisma. And we know that bards are performers, so they are proficient in charisma. So they become double proficient in charisma. They roll 3 dice to take the lowest. And if they choose an elemental book of magic, they're making magic rolls with charisma. So they can't choose like a death book or like a horrendous magic book like a regular sorcerer, but they can choose to be proficient. So they're basically like a super sorcerer. You have the actor that has a special ability. But prior to entering the dungeon, choose a role you will play. You'll be able to use one special ability from any non-magical class for the duration of the dungeon. I think you can do some crazy builds with that. You have a politician special ability. They can just, it's just basically like a economic ability. They can buy things for less, which only works outside of dungeons. You're not going to spend a lot of time outside of dungeons, but it's like an NPC type class. Or if you like want a special teams build. Here we go. Dancer, dance fighting. Whenever you are supposed to take health damage in combat, you may make a charisma roll. If they pass, roll your level dice and reduce the incoming damage by that much. If there's a bard in your party, all your attacks are made at -1, and that's good because it's a roll under system. Here's also the fencer, finesse. A fencer may use their dexterity stat instead of their strength for all melee combat rolls. Additionally, when a fencer manages a hit, they may make a charisma check to put some extra flourish in the attack. If they pass, they will roll their level dice and add that much damage to the regular damage rolled. It's very powerful. Now here we have the character races. Now here's another thing that can be frustrating about Micro Chapbook RPG. An elf, a gnome, a dwarf, or an orc in this book may have different abilities than an elf, a gnome, a dwarf, or an orc in another book. So conceivably, you could have different orcs from different that you started in different play sessions from different books, and they could have different abilities and be kind of mismatched. So it could cheese you out. But this could also lead to different kind of power builds. The elf, you can have our natural magic users. They can always begin with 2 spells learned at level 0 for magic classes. That's good. Here we have everything is either has a stat bonus and a substat bonus, which is either 10 health, 5 health plus a damage bonus, 10 willpower, or so that's it. You got 4 subclasses, and it's a dexterity bonus. So look again. The autism balancing continues. Every of these, there's elf, gnome, dwarf, and orc, and humans, which get shit on. And we'll explain to that later. So it's 4 different things, right? Everything is 4. And then there's 4 stats, there's 4 different races, and then the humans, which get shafted. Here we go. So there's every tribe of every different species has, one tribe has a dexterity bonus, one tribe has a wits bonus, one tribe has a strength bonus, and one tribe has the charisma bonus. Get it? And then for the substats, you either get plus 10 health, plus 10 willpower, or a combination of that with either being split between 5 health and 5 willpower, or 5 health and a damage bonus, or 5 willpower and a damage bonus, right? If you get the plus 1 damage bonus, you get 5 of something else, not 10 of something else. Here we have gnomes. They've got a tower gnome as a plus 1 dexterity and 5 health plus 1 damage, or 1 strength and 10 health. You get the picture. But when we get to dwarves and orcs, things are going to get shitty. Oh, but here we go. The gnomes have something good. Because they're naturally light-footed, they always take at least -1 damage to a minimum of 1 from all incoming attacks from monsters and enemies. That's a good one. But always with this to a minimum of 1, because you're going to get that. You're going to see there's so many to a minimum of 1. You figure out that there's so many instances where it's like, okay, this person could just take 1 damage automatically. Dwarves are natural dungeoneers. When playing a dwarf, you map out all adjacent rooms to your current room, but only the layout and doors. This basically means that your character will be able to see everything in the next room, except the monsters that are inside them, which is basically like, okay, draw out the room, and then you know everything that's in there. You're just doing the work before you go into the room. They also can see in the darkness, never affected by dark rooms. The probability of running into a dark room is usually 1 out of 6. And if they're in the dark room and you're a team of 3 and you can see, but your partners can't see, okay, you know what I mean? Now, this is another thing. Fuck you to the author because you're charging full price for the book, but stat bonus on city dwarves. Stat bonus, 1 charisma, 5 willpower plus 5 strength? What? Typo. But what are we supposed to put instead? 5 willpower plus 5 health plus 1 damage bonus plus, we don't know. Strength is not a substat. We know you. Why would you take plus 1 strength plus 5 health plus 1 damage bonus when you get 1 charisma plus the 5 strength? You know what I mean? That would overpower you. But typo doesn't just occur once because the city orcs have plus 5 willpower plus 5 strength. Bah. Oh, by the way, if you're a city anything, city orc, city dwarf, whatever, you're charismatic. It's just like whatever, dude. So, orcs get 1 willpower. They get 2 willpower instead of 1 willpower every time willpower is generated. So they'd be good like wizards and sorcerers, because that's like the thing with Noah Patterson. It's like if other systems have orcs be not smart people and strong, then here they're strong. And then here, look at the humans. Humans are easily the most, but like I said, city orcs unusable because of the typo unless you homebrew some sort of substitution. Same thing with city dwarves. Humans are easily the most despised race, and for good reason. They used to be the dominant race in the land, lording power and wealth over others. They were responsible for waging war upon the orcs and driving them out. However, wars, greed, and malice among their own ranks drove them nearly to extinction. Now humans are very rarely have tribes to call their own. They may rely on family, but most are forced to live life of solitude among other races. All humans can choose any +1 stat bonus. They all have +5 health and +5 will. Fuck you. Right? Get it? Like all the other fantasy land adventures like Dungeons and Dragons are they? It's like the humans are the most populous and the dwarves and the elves and everyone else are like more the minorities. And this one, it's like everyone else is the majority and the humans are the ones. Get it? Get it? Get it? Get it? Get it? Because humans are bad. Each character has 4 substats: health, willpower, damage bonus, and experience. Yada yada. 0 health, you die. Willpower, your willpower goes to 0. If your willpower goes to 0, you got to roll everything with a +1 modifier. Yada yada. Damage bonus. The damage bonus is a measure of how hard you can hit in combat. It adds all damage rolls of every kind. Most normal characters begin with +0 damage bonus. No. However, many class and race abilities might bump this up to +1 or even +2 during character creation, conceding that Noah Patterson understands and knows that people can start above level 0. Nightbird Games. Wait, humans bad? I get it. I get it. Humans are bad. True. But what's the over-under that elves and orcs and humans and halflings and look, consciousness equals probably douchebaggery, right? Experience or XP is a measure of how. But welcome to the proceedings. Hey, look, I'm going to highlight you. Hey, look at this. Here we go. You're all part of history now. Humans are kind of bad, but compared to elves, well, let's not go elf bashing. Experience or XP is a measure of how much a character is learning while they are adventuring. At level 0, your character begins with 0 XP. Fine. Weapons. Now you're getting close to finishing your character. You may purchase equipment, yada yada. Some weapons have keywords. Okay. Check this. Now, but look. It's all love. But look, here we go. There is no. The damage just goes up like linearly. Like it just goes up and the cost goes up just like D1, D2, D3, D4, D4 plus 1, D6, D6 plus 1, D8, 2D4, D8 plus 1, D10, D10 plus 1. And the price goes 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And then it's the hand axe is 2D4 at 10 gold, but a longsword is D8 plus 1 at 11. It doesn't make mathematical sense. Like there's no sense that. Here we go. My apologies for my DSP invitation there. I'm so confused on which chapbook is the right one to get. I don't feel like there's a definitive one. I did get the Western one. I saw you cover once. There is. It's hard to say the definitive one. It's not this one. This is not the definitive one. The one I'm telling you now about is not the definitive one. I'll tell you that much. This is definitely an add-on. We've got dual wielding in this one. My point with this is that there's no real rhyme or reason to the price points, and if you see that when you see that sort of just that pure linear pricing, you quickly see that with just a little thinking, you can look and clearly see that financially there's some things purchases that make no sense and some purchases that'll come out as wise. Dual wielding blow through. If you deal enough damage to one enemy in the room, there's still enough damage left over. The damage can be rolled over to another enemy. Two hands, fine. We don't need to worry about the poison. When this weapon deals damage, roll a 1d6. On a roll of 1, the target is poisoned. For the rest of combat, all damage dealt to them is made at +1. What we're not told, does it stack? Right? Because if you have a damage bonus of like +3 or +4, which I could tell you can see, and then if every time you hit, the poison handgun does 2d2 damage, and you have a +4 damage, and then if that +1 on poison, if that stacks, and it should, right? Because you got more poison in their system, it should stack, right? Forget about it. And that just costs 4 gold. Right? Why buy the blowgun at 3 gold when you can buy a poison blowgun at 4 gold? Right? And for God's sakes, why would you buy a cloth sling to do D3 damage when you could buy the poison blowgun that can do D2 damage but do that poison every time you hit? You have a chance to get him to do poison the guy. We testing to see if your players are dumb? Double. We talk about double explosive. When this weapon hits, is a chance of sending out a fiery explosion after dealing damage. Roll 1d6 on a natural 1, blah, 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 blah. You blow up in your face, too. Armor and accessories. Armor grants a wearer a boost to their max health score. Some also have a chance of blocking incoming damage. These will be assigned a dice code. When you're supposed to take damage, roll the dice, and if you roll a 1, you may roll your level dice and block that much damage. This is going to get confusing. So here's another new system that is introduced, and instead of doing so all armor has basically a static bonus to health. So when I buy like a shield that grants +3 bonus to health, if I've got 40 health and I get that shield, I now have 43 health. If I get hit for 3 damage, I now have 40 health, right? It's like effectively I have no shield. It's a static bonus that is just added on top. If I, instead of buying that shield for 3 gold, I had bought like 3 rations that when consumed can generate between 1d3 hits, health, I'm probably better served. Armor has always been kind of a funny thing in Micro Chapbook RPG to me because of that nature. Now, there might be stuff about static bonus armor in RPGs that I don't get, but that's always been my issue with it. That it doesn't, soak, it's not consistent, it doesn't last. It just, once it is done, it's done. It takes off once the bonus is done, it's gone, basically. There you go. Nightbird Game says, I'd rather have armor be its own stat that could theoretically break if hit hard enough or whatnot. Well, now check this out. So you have this, each weapon has a cost in gold as well as a slot on the body. The slots are as follows: shield, head, arms, feet, and body. You can have only one armor piece per slot. When you purchase one, make sure to add the bonus to your health. Great. Now look at this thing. When is a blocking incoming damage. This will be assigned a dice code. When you're supposed to take damage, roll the dice, and if you roll a 1, you may roll your level dice and block that much damage. So now, instead of having one stat, theoretically, you can have multiple pieces of armor that have this block ability. So, for example, if I have an iron shield that has a D20 block, I have a knight's helmet that is a D12 block, I have the iron gauntlets that have a D20 block, and I have a chain shirt that is a D10 block, and I receive damage, and I want to see if I blocked it. What they want me to do is, I guess, roll each individual die and see. I guess if I roll a 1 on one or multiple of these die, I can then roll my level die, which could be, in most instances at the beginning of the D6, to see if I've absorbed that much damage. Whereas if they just gave me an armor class bonus or something, or like made it, give me a +1 modifier to hit, then it would be a lot easier to resolve that issue. So you see what I'm talking about. They want to add a mechanic to make it an advanced character guide, but this mechanic is woefully complex. Theoretically, I could have 4 points of damage incoming, and I could do 4 rolls to get rid of it. No, it does get confusing. I think you're right. Nightbird Game says, I think having shields be considered a part of arms makes sense, at least in one hand. No, it makes sense to have it assigned to a body part. That's not the issue. I think you're right to say, wait, armor adds to health and then you still roll for defense. No point in health bonus. Confusing. No, it's true. Instead of just going back and either doing one or the other, by doing both, it just creates. And again, this block bonus, remember, if you have this tower shield, you have a D12 chance to block, which means you roll a D12 and it's only on a 1 that you would actually block. It's pretty unforgiving too. Chances are you're going to have all this armor and you're going to have this chance to block and you're going to roll all this die and you're just going to be like, what? You know what I mean? It's still good, not hit. Magical clothing, just like armor, except it adds to willpower instead of health. If you're familiar with the use of willpower in Micro Chapbook RPG, you are. Here we go. Again, we come back to the item section, which we covered. Which we covered in the beginning. We touched upon in the beginning, but we're going to come back to when we talked about rule inconsistency introduced in the beginning of the game, and we have it again. We rolled D12 for an item roll. 1 through 10, you would get one of these items. On an 11 or 12, we were told buyer's choice. You want to have a weapon, roll a D8 and find a ranged weapon, or you want a melee weapon, roll 1 through 8 and find a melee weapon. But then it doesn't tell us here. Or roll a 1 through 10 and find a book. But we're told in the magic section, you could find a book. Well, you should have told us there as well. We have these mounts. They're told these rules for mounts. If you have your mount, if you're on top of your mount in battle, hit against you could hit your mount instead of you. It is what it is. It's there if you want it. To me, I don't like the concept of being on top of a donkey and the donkey getting hit. Doesn't make a lot of sense to me. Earning experience. After each room you clear of monsters, you earn experience points. Total up the number of monsters killed in the room minus your current level to a minimum of 1. Whatever the final total is how much you earn for clearing the room. Okay? Upon defeating a boss monster, you earn XP equal to the boss's life force, minus your level bonus to a minimum of 1. Here's the problem. They've already told us you can be in the dungeon with a party the maximum of 3. Here's the other problem. Parties can have characters at different levels. So, total up the number of monsters killed in the room minus your current level. Whose current level? If we're not all at the same current level, or if we are at the same current level, what's the number of XP generated? If you have 3 level 0 people in a room and you've killed 3 enemies, have you generated 9 XP or 3 XP? It's not set because you've already told us that if there's 3 people in the room, that it's going to slow down experience generation, meaning that there seems to be some sort of detriment to having more people. But then it doesn't make it. It's not clarified. It doesn't make sense. That's a problem. That's not a good system, which is why I'm coming hard on this game, on this book. The game works. This book has got the book needs to be worked. They didn't work hard enough on the book. It wasn't ready for publication. It wasn't. It's got good ideas. It needed to be play tested. It needed to be what does Dungeons and Dragons do? It does, and then Pathfinder. What do they do? They release the play tests, right? And give us your feedback. Not saying that no could have done that, but you know what I'm saying. They needed to sit down and be like, let me think about this. Does this actually work? Spending XP. As your character faces the trials of an adventurer's life and survives, they will earn experience points. Experience points are used to upgrade your stats and to eventually level up. When a character reaches 100 XP, they're eligible to purchase a new stat point. You will immediately add the stat bonus to your stat score you've chosen. Don't forget to upgrade any substats impacted by the stat score. Now, look, when you go up, remember the level dice is the dice you roll when you're doing your stat checks in the dungeon. The auto fail stays the same. But look, the bonus die that you roll when you're trying to generate, more hit points or will points changes with the level faster than the level dice. So they bifurcate this. It gets weird. You got to keep track of how much health you generated each level, how much willpower you generated each level up, or you're going to forget how your character got generated, and it'll be trouble trying to recreate them. Leveling up. In addition, keep a running tally of your character's total sum of their stats. This sum will determine when you increase your character level. Most characters begin the game at level 0. No. When you level up, there's a chance the die you use for all stat checks, therefore, will change. For instance, rolling a D8 for stat checks instead of D6. This is called your current level dice. The new number where you automatically fail also changes and is the highest number on your current level dice. Look at the chart on the next page for a complete outline of levels 1 through 15. All I can tell you is that based on the fact that I haven't seen evidence that the other things have been, properly play tested, I think this is going to get for Casey. For instance, like if you think of 4 stats, and if you think of them leveling each one up to 6, that's like 24. So it's not until all of those will be up to level 6 that you go up to a D8. So if you kept even just 1 below, you'd still be rolling a D6. So you'd still be able to, if you kept even like some of them below like 6, like if you like leveled up everything to 5 and then just put like a couple above, like if you put like strength to like D8 to like compensate for rooms where you had penalties, you could still keep some at just 5 and not have your level dice go up and still generate like automatic like hits on like probably strength and charisma and still cheese the game. Like this is not play tested. You can totally tell there's like ways to break the system. We'll get there. I can say I've got Nightbird Games. I got a playlist. You can check out my playlist to see all the stuff, all the information. Um, and the good stuff, like what I could also tell you is that for me, for what it's worth, not to slam anybody, I haven't checked out a lot of the stuff that they've released since 2022 based on the core rulebook that I saw for what they were calling micro RPG R, which I thought I had no real interest in playing. You'll have an easy time coming up to speed and figuring out what's worth buying of the stuff that was released between 2020 and 2022. But I'll come to a summation at the end. But you can leave this one aside. Additionally, whenever you level up, you'll also gain the following: increased health, increased willpower, increased damage bonus, spellcasters are using any book of magic. Starting at level, some characters, by virtue of the character creation process, may even begin at level 1 before the game begins. False. Some characters can begin, dude. Let's do the math. If you use any of these character creation methods besides the point purchase, you can start off at 444. You can pick a character, one of the things that has a bonus to strength plus, bring it up to +5. Then you could take this other mountain dwarf. You could take this one class, the huntsman, who gets the woodsman that gets another +5 strength, +1 strength. So you could start off at 4, 5, 6 strength, and then another 4 down the line. So you go 16, 17. You start off like what? Hold on. You can start off like I think 18 with your stats. If you start off 18 with your stats, you start off at level 4. So you can start off at level 4. And I just did that math in my head. Noah wrote this game. They should have known that. Some characters, by virtue of their character, may even begin at level 1. Some people may begin at level 4, dude. Do that. Begin at 8 or higher. People can begin. I just did the math. So you could start at level 4, right? So you could start way high. I'm not going to go over all the magic, but it is. So here, there's a way, always the off chance you will find a book of magic within the confines of any dungeon. When you roll 11 or 12 in an item roll during the treasure step, you can attempt to find the book of magic by rolling the d10 below. That's given here. It's not given in the other item section. That's lazy. Here you go. The magical backfire section, which is just, not too intense. Backfire mods. Here we go. Book of Fire Magic. Well, also with you, if you have a level 4 character at start, the damage modifier is going to be potentially +4 or +5. So when we see things like a level 0 spell, which will cost nothing to cast, do D3 damage, you have to know that if it's got if you have potentially a +5 damage bonus, that at minimum, that's going to do 6 points of damage. Now look, we have one here. A cone of flame explodes from your palms and deals D10 damage to one enemy in the room. Leftover damage rolls over to other enemies. That potentially, that rollover damage with your damage bonus, you could wreck shop. You could basically clear a room with one hit. Now check this out. We have Book of Earth Magic. I had some definition, bro. The small green plant grows from the earth for the next 1d8 rounds of combat. Once it is fully grown, you may harvest the plant on the range step and eat it for 1d3 health. I was like, does it take 1d8 rounds to grow and then you can harvest it? No, I think it means it sticks around for 1d8 rounds. You spray dirt pebbles from your fingertips, targeting up to 3 enemies and dealing 1d2 damage to each. But remember, if you've got a damage bonus of +3, +4, you could be potentially doing 5 hits of damage on a ranged attack to 3 enemies. Again, you have the potentiality at Jump Street of having characters that can clear 3 enemies on the outset. That's pretty good. But then again, you have a chance to get punched out too. So it is what it is. Water magic, it is what it is. Air magic. So I had this idea: breeze. A heavy breeze sweeps over all enemies in the room, dealing 1 damage to each. Costs 1 willpower to cast. If we have a character that has got, like I said, like a +3, +4 power damage bonus, if you're dealing 1 damage to each, that could ramp up to 4 or 5 hits of damage on each enemy in the room. That's nuts. That's nuts. You have the Book of Death Magic that allow people to resurrect monsters or minions and stuff. Now, look, this is great in the sense that this is like your necromancer from Diablo. But we have to bear in mind that unlike the necromancer in Diablo, our computer is not running these things. We are. So when you add these new things, these new complexities, these new rules, you have to know that we're responsible for keeping track of them. It is a blast when I'm playing Diablo 3 to add on all those special abilities and to have the bone army follow me around and then have the, throw the ring on my follower and then have him, raise up a, flesh golem, and automatically on every 10% on every other hit that he makes and whatever. But it's another thing to keep track of, 6 other minions on paper and keep track of 6 other little boxes of health points and how many of those 6 other little hit boxes have scored hits against 6 other little boxes. So some of this stuff can be really appealing on paper, but then when you actually think about what it would be like in execution, it gets different. But it's a quibble. It is where it is. Infernal magic that sometimes can get you sent to hell. With all those rules, books of holy magic, books of street magic. Get resurrected. It's always good. Game started, your first dungeon. Okay. Now, the one thing I want to point out here, maybe the last thing, that's when I'm going to start figuring out all the things I've left out, is again, we get this thing with 2 other characters join them up and whatever, but we have this problem of It's not articulated how we're supposed to calculate the experience points with characters of divergent levels, which would be necessary. And we have these things with these doors. This door triggers a trap. Roll on the trap chart on page 128. Okay. Roll on the trap chart on page 128. There's no trap chart on page 128. The trap chart is on page 133. Proofreading. It's called proofreading. Says Nightbird Game says maybe each player calculates their own XP instead of a shared. Well, yeah, maybe, but it says that everybody is going to share their XP, and that's going to make leveling harder. That's my only point is that, look, yeah, I mean, there's 1,003 ways to make it work. You just got to fix it. It is what it is. You just got to fix it. And then when it comes to trial, the dungeon charts, remember the traps, at some point people should be able to disarm these traps. You used to be able to disarm some of these traps because what would happen is that some of these doors would just be trapped and it would be, you would disarm it. But there's no clear way or place where it indicates to you where you would just disarm it. It might be that I need to review the basic edition rule books to let me know where that happens. Also, if you've got a team of 3 people, how do these traps affect a person? Do they affect just the person opening the door? Do they affect all the people that are in the area that are opening the door? Does it affect each person individually? Make a dexterity check or set off a loud magical ringing bell. Immediately roll for new monsters and enter combat. Okay. Falling net trap. A net falls down, trapping you. Make a strength check to break out or lose 1 willpower. If you're at 0 willpower, lose 1 health instead to reroll. Okay, but what if one person gets out? Are they able to free other people? A trapdoor opens underneath you. Make a dexterity check and fall down to the nearest room on a lower level. Make a 1d6 health damage per level you fall. Per level you fall? I mean, you could fall multiple levels? How would that happen? Are you supposed to keep track of where rooms are in relation to each other vertical? You know what I mean? Good ideas, but in execution, it needs a little bit more articulation. It'll be fine. Hey, it is what it is. If it was one of the $7 or $8 books, I'd have nothing to say. But because it's priced at $35 for the hardcover, I can say this. Here's the other thing. We get to the monster table. And we have these damage modifiers. With the exception of the Great Floating Eye, which is your basic, like rats, the simple minion, which is a damage modifier of -2, which means it's relaxed, and the metal melting metallic slime with a like a danger modifier of 0. You have +2 for 2 of the monsters, including the boss, and +1 for 2 of the other monsters, meaning that in addition to the rooms having modifiers of +1 to several effects, you have +2 and +1 for the monsters. That means that you can have modifiers of +3 and +2 to rooms, to rolls. But remember, folks, the average at the beginning, you're rolling a d6. If you have a room where, because of the enemy and because of the room, your rolls are subjected to a +3 modifier, That means if you had a 5 in, say, strength, which is normally the highest you can have, which would mean that normally you're only failing on a roll of 6. You're only failing on basically a critical fumble. If you've got a +3 because the skeleton Spartan has a +2 modifier and the room is a collapsed room with rubble and debris, so you've got a +3 penalty to your throws. Even with a 5, even with the ultimate score, where normally you would only be missing if you blew a 6. You could actually only hit on a 1, a critical success, or a 2. Because on a 2 +3, you get your 5. And on a 1, it's a critical success, Kalu Kalay. But if you get a 3 +3, it's 6. If you get a 4, it's a 7. You're way out there, right? If you've got the ultimate score, you can only score on a 1 or a 2. God help you if you've less than a, if you've got a 4, you literally can only win on a critical success, and for everyone else down the line. So for a lot of these rooms, you can, the average person, the average character is only going to be able to be successful. We say hello to Robert Redmonds. Hello. You can only succeed, and you can see how it works. The damage modifier +2, damage modifier is +1, and that's excluding the boss. And you see the number of rooms that have damage penalties and penalties in the +1 area. So you see how many of these rooms can land it with characters that will have modifiers up against them that will mean that they'll only be able to hit or do anything on like critical successes on a roll of 1. That's not balanced. Now, unfortunately, what it is that I think it's that because you're dealing with, because the system was born out of a 1d6 system, right? It's not even a 2d6 system. It's based at its heart on a 1d6 system. There's so little space for granularity, right? There's so little space to work with. The effect of a +1 or a +2 modifier. So there's a desire, I think, on the creator's part to create variety. But there needs to be a knowledge that even a +1 throws things in such disarray, in such a direction. It's like if you know, like Free Kriegspiel. It's like, but I've got the body armor, I've got the machine gun, I've got the all-terrain vehicle, and I've got the explosives. Okay, taking all that into consideration, you got +1 on your roll. And why is that? Because it's a 2d6 system. The notion is, yeah, all of that equals a +1 modifier, maybe a +2. Because if you start adding more than that, you're losing sight of the fact that you have, the world is being measured in clicks of 1. Do you know what I mean? A click of between +2 and +3 is the difference between a Sherman tank and a nuclear missile. But then I don't think that vested down at this level, which is why it runs into problems. But I think that there can be some fun to be had because there's the possibility, having gone through all that and having poo-pooed as much as I've poo-pooed, there's things that are savable and salvageable. And what it is that I think that when we come back, we can come back and say, okay, the system's broken, the leveling system is broken, fuck that. The blocking thing is for shit. We're not going to, do that. But what we can do is we could take these special abilities, we could take these special classes, we could repair the charisma instead of wits things, and we can figure out if we can put together either one player that we think will be, so like we can figure out like what do we think will be some like world changing builds, right? Like what do we think will be some wreck shop builds that will be able to tear down some dungeons that we thought were impossible? Or what do we think or some builds that we can put together that will just take the average beginning, like if this is like the towards the end of the life cycle of regular micro Chapbook RPG, what's a character that we could put together naturally from this rule set that we could bring back to like the first one of the first dungeons, the first some of the first 1.0 dungeons, and just like clear it out in 30 seconds. You know what I mean? And just destroy. Nightbird Games adds, maybe adding an inventive usage rule might help, like a 2d6 dungeon. So if you were playing with others and you were trapped, they could realistically help you. Absolutely. And there is a co-op guide that precedes this book, and there's a DM guide, and there's an advanced dungeon guide for Micro Chapbook RPG that was the sister volume to this. There was supposed to be, I believe, 3 advanced books, and only 2 of them ended up coming out. So we'll see. I definitely think that there are some builds that I'm dying to see in action, and see, what they could do. The multi-shot ranger, I think would be crazy to see, especially with a double shot weapon. Though they might be left open to attack in the strength stage, because it seems like those double shot weapons are two-handed, and so we have to see if they can free a hand up to use a melee weapon fast enough. But there's definitely something to see what this muscle bound the woodsman, like what if we put like all our bonuses into strength and just like kept every other bonus at like 1. Just other things, you know what I mean? You have this, you can have like people that resurrect, or just to put together like special teams, like gold generating teams and stuff, and just and see what we could do. Also, like I said, is that you could, you could figure out, you could calculate the ultimate penalties that are possible in each individual dungeon, and then build out people that could ultimately, due to stat bonuses, put their stats to where they could not lose. And hopefully you could do it without raising the level die. There's different ways we can figure out how to cheese the system. Who knows? And we'll see. And like I said, like I tend to make these videos, the last videos there's been an exponential drop off in the play. My most popular video on this channel is the first Micro Chapbook RPG video that I did. and then literally the video that I did the part 2 of that has like 1/3 of the plays, and then the video after that has like 1/3 of that one's plays. So it's like it keeps on going like down, 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 down. So we'll see. We'll see if there's any like juice left in this. If the juice is worth the squeeze, as we say. But what do you think, tarot cards? Do you think that I will get any play for this review of Advanced Micro Chapbook, this Micro Chapbook RPG Advanced Character Guide? Do you think I will generate a new audience? Do you think people will come and check out this hour and 41 minute and 15 this hour and 42 minute review of this book? Seven of Swords. So as I sneak out the back door with my plans of plenty, with my desire to have people show up, I've got Jonaside's like and his comment. I've got that. I've got that going for me. But plans are afoot. I mean, I might. I mean, I'm certainly I'm working it. Let's see what the little booklet says. Sometimes when I come up flat-footed and somebody else's share. All right. There you go. Remember, tell the people, folks. I feel as though sometimes there's a community waiting for this this play system, this game, but you know what I mean. It's like a group of schmendricks. It's like hard to get the fire started. The Lament of Isis, they call this card in the Egyptian Tarot from 2003. Warning, instructions, mysterious protection. Well, plans are afoot, right? It's in the classic tarot, you'd see the guy sneaking off from camp with some of the swords in hand. He's got two left behind. There's always something left behind. You know what I mean? So we got to see. But seven. Whenever I see the seven, it's a powerful number of men and women and conscious entities acting and behaving as gods. So I definitely, I'm curious to see what happens. I've got plans. I've been interested. I've been tuned in. I wonder what's going to happen next. Only time will tell. But I've certainly had fun. You know, it's fun even seeing the faults in things. It's fun doing the research. It's fun being like, wait, hold on. That doesn't work, but it could work like this. You kick the tires, you light the fires, you make the repairs, and you figure out how things work. Even if it takes figuring out how things don't work in certain instances. I love you. Nobody told they loved you today. Somebody just did that. Somebody is CW Chanter. I hope you enjoyed this installment. Check out Noah Patterson's Advanced Micro Chapbook RPG system. The first ones are the best ones. It's the Micro Chapbook RPG system. Accept no limitations, especially from Noah Patterson themselves. Forget this micro RPG R stuff. Ugh. We might have to take this stuff over. I love you. If nobody told you they loved you today, somebody just did it twice. That's somebody, CW Chanter. I'll catch you on the next one. Renee, Miss Jonaside. Renee, Miss Jonaside, we just read the tarot cards and they couldn't have been more clear. Leave your lover for another. Make of that what you will. Genocide has already taken the hint, so you know what I mean? That's not what you said before. Come on, I hurt my feelings. Golden coin 100. You just got here, so leave your lover for another. The card's going to be clear, Golden Coin 100. You're last in the live chat, by the way. On balance, right? I love you. I love you. Last in the live chat. Hey, listen. I don't know why I go to extremes. Did I just do a Billy Joel? Noah Patterson, that's what you get in the form of a review. I Billy Joel'd you. We're going to take one of the fairies that can fly from the Pride Month of 2021, and we're going to make him an advanced plus strength hobnobbler and make him do things in a dungeon. That's what you get. You could have returned my DMs, Noah Patterson, but no, you chose to remain yourself. How dare you? I'm kidding. I'm not kidding. I love you, folks. I got to get out of here. Okay. Hit the like button, Golden. Why don't leave it to Golden? Everybody hit the like button, please. Hit the comment section. Oh, and take a look at the description box below. I've got other links. I give you one-time donation on PayPal. You can join me on Patreon. Lowest dollar a month. Do that too. Until next time. Peace.